Welcome to the Content Repurposer podcast, where we delve into the world of content repurposing for authors. I'm your host, Pooja Arshnapali, and today we're going to explore the journey of David Nicholls and his book, One Day. I know in the past episodes, I focused on how nonfiction authors were able to repurpose their book's content through different mediums. In this episode, I was planning on trying to do something different. I wanted to focus on a fiction book and show how David Nicholls was able to repurpose his book One Day into different formats. David Nicholls published a book, and it follows Dexter Mayhew and Emma Morley, who meet on July 15, 1988, their college graduation day. The book revisits them on the same date over the next 20 years, showcasing their friendship, missed opportunities, dreams, disappointment, and the complex web of emotions that bind them. When One Day by David Nicholls was originally published in 2009, it garnered largely positive reviews from critics and readers. The novel was praised for its storytelling, emotional depth, and the authentic portrayal of its characters over the span of 2 decades. Critics highlighted Nicholls' ability to combine humor and poignant moments, creating a story that is both entertaining and deeply moving. It was particularly noted for how it allowed the development of characters and their relationship to be explored in depth because the readers were able to see a 20-year progression of the characters. This approach was seen as a creative way to highlight the changes and constants in their lives, offering insights into the complexity of their relationships. Harry Ritchie from The Guardian stated, "The novel was not only roaringly funny, but also memorable, moving, and in its own unassuming, unpretentious way, rather profound." In the Times magazine, through London, described it as a wonderful, wonderful book, wise, funny, perceptive, compassionate, and often unbearably sad. The book was awarded the Popular Fiction Book of the Year at the UK's annual Galaxy National Book Awards in 2010, further cementing its success and appeal to a broad audience. Since the book was such a hit, in August of 2011, One Day got produced into a movie starring Anne Hathaway and Jim Sturgis. The film One Day had a budget of $15 million and ultimately grossed to $59 million in the box office. Even though it sounded like a success through the revenue, however, I looked at the reviews and it felt like the audience had a mixed response. On Rotten Tomatoes, the film had a 36% approval rating based on the reviews, and the average rating was a 5.1 out of 10. So I would like to share some of the good and bad reviews that One Day had based on the film. So one of the bad reviews stated, "Based on a novel written by David Nicholls, the story did not translate well onto screen." And the good review stated, "For everyone who's grown tired of the summer onslaught of superheroes, save the world plots and explosions, Hollywood finally offers some decent counter-programming in the form of a brainy romance, One Day." It felt like the people who have read the book, it didn't feel like the movie lived up to the expectations of the book. And I think this is a common theme whenever you have a book adapted into a movie. But I think the problem is when you have so much detail in a book, it's hard to know what should stay in and what should be taken out without removing the main message of the book. Earlier this year, on February 8th, 2024, right before Valentine's Day, Netflix launched a 14-episode series of the same book, One Day, casted with Ambika Maud and Leo Woodall. One Day has been in the top 10 most watched shows on Netflix for the last 2 weeks, and it racked up over 101.5 million viewing hours on its first 11 days of streaming. Surprisingly, this time around, the series got a good rating on Rotten Tomatoes. As of March 8th, 2024, Rotten Tomatoes reported a 91% approval rating based on the critic reviews and the audience ratings. One person stated, "If the 2011 film was hard to watch, then Netflix's new rendition is absolutely excruciating, but this time it's a compliment." And I think for the reviews from the people who preferred the original movie felt like the Netflix series dragged on and they didn't feel like the casting choices were best suited for the main characters. But I guess that just goes to show you can never please anyone. However, it gives people more options to choose from, because if they don't like the Netflix series, they can always watch the movie. It also introduced a newer audience who has never heard of the book or the original movie. I know it may feel as an author you're obligated to change things up, write a new book, keep up with the trends, but I hope through this example, you really don't have to do that. David Nicholls shared the same story just in 3 different ways and was able to extend his audience. That's all for today's episode of the Content Repurposer podcast. Join us next time as we continue to explore how authors can repurpose their content for greater impact. Remember, your book's journey doesn't end with publication, it's just the beginning.